It's 14 minutes past 8. The decision to withdraw emergency general surgery from the South West Acute Hospital has been described by the Royal College of Surgeons as an appropriate decision.
As part of the Western Trust's consultation on the proposed changes, a joint submission by the Royal College of Surgeons in England and Edinburgh said that the issue of transfer and ambulance times needs to be balanced against the risk to patients of a potentially substandard offering at SOAS, which they judged was the greater risk to patient safety.
Let's speak now to Helen Hamill from the Save Our Acute Services campaign, which has been fighting to retain services at the hospital. Good morning, Helen.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good. Helen, what, as you see it, justifies keeping the retention of emergency general surgery at the hospital?
The 83,343 patients who, without surgery in the hospital, are expected to be able to travel equally safely to an average of 2 hours to the next hospital, and many of them over closer to 2.5 hours for 20,000 of them. So it's an area of safety completely for us. It is a smaller hospital, a small rural hospital, and I think it is very, very important for people to realise that the risk to us is because of the remote peripheral geography and the catchment of our SOAS hospital. It's a very rural site for NIAS to cover, for Northern Ireland Ambulance Service to cover. It's a deprivation known area. 14% of the population from Annatrone have no cars. It's 5 hours and 4 buses from Rosslea in County Fermanagh to the front door of Altnagelvin Hospital. So it's everything to do with life-saving, urgent and unplanned surgery as a consequence of removing the surgeons and calling it the general surgery review-based decision, I think.
And tell me, Helen, do you trust doctors?
That's the old adage. Yes, I do trust doctors. I don't necessarily trust all doctors making huge statements. But I have a lot of faith in some doctors. We've nuffled documents. We've amassed an awful lot of information in this campaign. I can quote you from the NHS.
But my question is, do you trust doctors when they say fundamentally modern medicine requires subspecialisation and requires centralisation of key services?
I trust doctors. I don't agree with your statement. Fundamentally, and as I said, if the doctor is doing surgery on me, I'm quite sure I would trust him. But I don't necessarily agree with a directive given by a group of doctors. I do understand that there is a huge Northern Ireland attempt to regionalise and rationalise services, but it can't be at the expense of lives here. It's it's urgent and emergency care. To reconfigure services has been acknowledged by Nuffield Hospital in small hospitals to not demonstrate improvements in patient outcomes, and it actually states no further capacity can be removed from overstretched systems in the vain hope of producing efficiencies in smaller acute hospitals. And another one, which is, I suppose, I'm aware that the Royal College of Surgeons is a big deal, and I'm quite flattered, to be honest, because it seems that they've chosen to come in on our campaign, which possibly shows we're saying the right things. But NHS England, which is also quite a valid, high-ranking statement, states clearly 1 hour is taken to be the maximum travel time to hospitals for clinical safety reasons for emergency care. I think what we're hearing here this morning is the Royal College is re-emphasising what the Trust has tried to make us accept and failed purely. We haven't accepted it in any way. And to quote us,
sorry, Helen, to cut across you, just so that I'm clear, are you basically saying that you don't agree that a specialised service requires a high number of throughput to make the surgery safer and therefore to have better outcomes for patients? Are you fundamentally saying that you don't agree with that assertion?
I don't think it actually works in a small, geographically peripheral catchment area. It
But
just will not work.
with respect, Helen, how would you know you're not a doctor?
Well, can I just pass that one back? And I'd say, how would the Royal College know? Because there's no risk assessment. There was no clinical risk assessment.
But they are experts in their area.
In where they live, I'm sure they are. But clinical risk assessments on the removal of emergency general surgery and the clinical interdependencies, which have fallen as a consequence of this management choice, no risk assessment is held in the Department of Health. So on drafting the statement that the college did to you, they have no risk assessments made. And you're dealing with a population here, as I said to you, you have in the Western Trust statement this week, they have ignored the 30,268 valid responses from members of this catchment. People who don't have cars, people who realise it's 4 bus journeys from their house to Altnakelvin, people who realise that NIAS is not arriving in the right time because there are greater needs in an area where there are, I suppose, more emergencies. And also, I think one of the things that the Royal Colleges omit completely, and it's very unfair, and I mean very unfair, there is a regional trauma network in Northern Ireland, and trauma is time sensitive, not arguable. This is one of the slides and the justifications for needing one. But the Royal Trauma Centre is one situation where a hub and a hub of excellence has created positive outcomes for 20% of the cases it treats. However, that treats patients if they get there inside 45 minutes. And I don't know a place in Fermanagh that gets anywhere near it in 45 minutes. So we have poor infrastructure, poor population.
I take your point, Helen, and there's a lot to be discussed on this issue. We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Helen Hamill, thank you.
That brings the time to 20 minutes past 8 o'clock, and hundreds of thousands of people are expected